I want to welcome you all to Webinar Wednesday with Click to Science. I'm certainly glad to have you here and exciting to see that we have a lot of people joining us today. I'm sure we'll have some more joining in just a little bit. This webinar is designed for trainers, evaluators, program directors, and others who train after-school program staff. You'll learn how to sustain overall quality programming by building skills and confidence in your frontline staff in your program. And we're going to focus on research on program quality and strategies that you can use as leaders to grow a culture of quality in your program. I do want to welcome you today. I'm glad you're here. My name is Sandra Frericks. I'm a science education specialist here at the University of Nebraska and work with the Click to Science team. I'm also assisted today by Melissa Fenton. She'll be helping keep the conversation going with you in our chat box. So glad you're here, and if you have any questions as we're going, please feel free to share those in the chat box. So I wanted to start out by sharing with you some information from research on after-school program quality, and there are also a couple of articles you can see in the web links pod that you can download that'll give you a little bit more background and in-depth on what this research is telling us about quality in after-school programs. You probably already know some of these numbers, but I'll just reiterate. There's about 8.4 million children who are in after-school and summer learning programs in the U.S. And one of the things that makes after-school such a great place for STEM learning is that many of those children are from gender, ethnic, or socioeconomic groups that are underrepresented in STEM fields. So by including STEM in the after-school programming, you're reaching those audiences that may not have had STEM-based experiences in other areas of their life. Quality programs have demonstrated the ability to successfully engage and retain students from these diverse populations into STEM programming. And both of these statistics are from examining the impact of after-school STEM programs, if you want to look at that in more detail. Students who regularly attend high-quality after-school programs across 2 years have demonstrated significant gains in their academic achievement and in their teachers' reports of their social skills with peers. So we know that high-quality program has an impact on youth. These programs also have shown that they can develop interest and engagement with STEM that extends beyond the program itself, as participants develop STEM skills and ability and increased awareness of career opportunities. So the impact of high-quality after-school program is positive on youth, and it goes beyond just the time that they're spending in our programming. So that's why we want to have high-quality after-school STEM programming. But what we want to talk about next is how do we know that we have high-quality programming? What can we do to measure that? So what I'd like you to do as we're talking about this is if you have tools or resources that you are using to assess program quality, please share those in the chat pod so that other people can learn from your experience. Knowing that the research on quality programming has demonstrated that it has a significant impact on youth, we really need to know how do we decide if we have a high-quality program. At Click to Science, we talk with a lot of after-school programs so that we know that there's a lot of tools that programs are using to measure quality. Some have developed their own tools. Some use resources that come from such as YPQA or Dimensions of Success. But we also know there are many programs that aren't using any tools to assess their program quality. So one of the goals of our webinar is if you are one of those programs that doesn't have tools available to you now to assess your program quality, we want to help you find some of those tools. And Megan has shared that they're one of those programs that are developing their own rubrics and tools for measuring their program quality, working with external evaluators. And that's a very common model. A lot of people are doing that because it allows you to really focus on the issues, the quality measures that are important to your program. On the slide, you'll see there's lots of different opportunities. Dimensions of Success is an observation tool that focuses on STEM programming, and it really looks at just the quality measures that are really have been found to be relevant to STEM, not to your overall program. If you want something that's measuring the whole context of your program, then a tool like YPQA, from the Center for Youth Program Quality, might be a good tool for you because it measures not just the programming part of your program, but the environment, the interactions, how you set up the context for your after-school program as well. And then in the middle, we have a resource from Florida, but there's lots of different tools that different programs have developed or different networks have developed to measure program quality. Our recommendation from Click to Science is that you use a tool to measure your program quality and then use what you've learned about goals for improving your program to guide your staff development. So we have tools on our site that can help you align your program improvement goals with Click to Science skills. That's what I'm trying to explain here is you start with identifying areas for improvement in your program. You align those with Click to Science skills for your staff that can help address those issues, and that helps you develop an overall staff development program that is focusing on how to build skills within your staff that are going to improve your overall program quality. So when you know what you're trying to accomplish in terms of your overall program quality, that makes it easier to select the right resources and then to evaluate if you've accomplished those goals. So what we want to help you do at Click to Science is find those resources that can help you develop a culture of quality and ongoing improvement of your program through professional development experiences that engage your staff and develop their skills. There's a question in the chat box about the slides. We are recording the webinar so that you can go back and view it again. But if you want to see one of these resources in particular, just drop us an email or a message, and we'll have our contact information at the end, and we can send you directly the resources that you're interested in. What I want to focus on next is some of the data that is available about program quality across the country, and how we can use that as an example of how we can inform those decisions about staff development. So this is data from Dimensions of Success, and there's a link at the bottom of the page so you can see where it comes from. But what we're looking at here is some national data on program quality, and it is focusing on the particular dimensions used in the DOS tool. You can see in the data here that there are some areas where overall our programs are pretty strong. And on the chart here, those are the pink areas to the right on the table. So those are areas where programs are excelling in that particular dimension. And you can see that some of the areas are really strong. The first one is about organizing our space for STEM learning. More than 60% of the programs evaluated nationally were effective in this area. And if you look on the other end of the chart on the left, the red areas are those programs that need improvement in this area. And you can see that there's a pretty small number of programs that really need to improve their performance in organizing their space. That's definitely an area where we're strong overall. In fact, those first three rows, which are all related to features of the learning environment, are pretty strong areas where programs are effective at creating appropriate learning environments for STEM and after school. There aren't a lot of programs that need improvement in this area, but there are many programs, over 50%, that are strong in this area. The next 3 lines are about engaging youth in purposeful activities. And you can see nationally we're pretty good at those, but there's a little bit more room for improvement than there was on the top 3. But if you get down to lines 7, 8, and 9, those are related to STEM knowledge and practices, and those are areas where we're not as strong. And there's definitely more room for improvement, more programs that need to develop in that area, and less programs that are really showing that they're effective. But I think we can all agree that the bottom 3 are probably the areas that would have the most concern, because they're showing the greatest area of need. Not very many programs are really effective in this area, and there are quite a few programs that need improvement. So those last 3 rows are related to youth development in STEM, building relationships, creating relevance, and giving youth a voice. Using this data as a guide, I've decided for the webinar today to focus on developing staff skills and giving youth voice in their learning, so that we can use this as an example. We've got data that shows us an area for improvement, so we're going to go then to Click to Science and look for areas that skills that can help develop this this area in our programming of giving youth voice and choice in their learning. So again, as you're looking at this chart, the pink areas are programs that have demonstrated that they are effective in this area. The red areas are programs that need improvement, and then we've got several that are in the middle. And each row represents a different dimension of success. And if you want more details on this, please contact us and we can share more information about it. Click to Science PD was designed to provide free and easy to use professional development resources for out-of-school time programs. So we've started by looking at research on formal and informal learning, and we've developed skills that staff need to facilitate high-quality STEM experiences in after-school. And then we've developed resources and some grab-and-go professional development tools that you can use to support your staff in building these skills. All of the resources on Click to Science are organized around the skills and strategies that staff need to be effective in facilitating STEM learning, supporting youth development through STEM, and helping youth develop STEM practices and mindsets. Our resources are designed to be engaging and interactive. We use a lot of discussion, hands-on activity, and videos to engage staff with different learning styles and help them really understand the skills that we're developing. And we've designed the experiences so that you can work with your staff by coaching or incorporating your professional development into staff meetings. We have resources that are fairly short that fit well into staff meetings. And we also have resources for longer, more in-depth trainings where you have time for staff to really practice and develop a skill. And finally, we have self-directed online lessons that your staff can complete on their own time and earn continuing education units through doing those. So we've tried to present you with a variety of tools that you can use to help your staff develop their skills in facilitating STEM learning experiences. The model that Click to Science uses is a blended model that allows staff to experience learning in a lot of different ways. So we want to help them see the skills through visual and video experiences. We also want to engage them socially, and whether they're in person or virtually, we want to have opportunities for dialogue and discussion and learning from one another so that we're engaging the learner as a whole person and helping them develop their skills, provide opportunities for them to talk about their practice, to share it, and to learn from one another as they're developing their skills. So the Click to Science resources will provide opportunities for you to engage staff in many different ways and to build their skills through professional development experiences that really connect to your program goals and what you're trying to accomplish. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to share with you an example of how you can use resources from Click to Science to create this blended learning experience for your staff. And then we'll discuss challenges and opportunities in implementing Click to Science in your own program. So we're going to see how we can get this all to take off for you and really make professional development happen in your program. I want to start out with a poll, and I'll take just a moment to pull this up. What I want you to think about is in your program, where you're at now, which we've got a list of things that happen when you're doing STEM and after-school programming. And what I want you to share is whose responsibility are each of these tasks. So, for example, deciding the purpose of the activity, is that something that youth in your program do? Then you would click the pull on the right to say that that's the responsibility of youth. If it's something the staff in your program do, then you would click it on the left. So just take a moment to read through each of these items and decide if it's something youth do or something the staff do in your program. I know not everyone has had time to respond to the poll, so I'll let you keep responding as I'm talking, but it is clear as we're looking at this that there are some things that we think are the responsibility of the youth in our program. Asking questions about the activity, actually engaging and doing the activity, those fall on the youth. Solving the challenge, evaluating it, communicating the results, those are mostly responsibilities of the youth. Other things like setting the challenge or deciding the purpose of the activity, gathering the materials, structuring the time, arranging the space, those are things that tend to fall on our staff. And that's pretty typical. I think this is probably what I would have predicted. Well, we're going to use this as a baseline, and we're going to evaluate whether we see changes in this over the course of the webinar today. So thank you so much for sharing your opinion about that now. And let's just identify where some areas are that we might be able to shift control from our staff to the youth in our program. So we're looking at what it means to give youth control in after-school STEM learning. When I'm talking about giving youth control, what I really mean is that the learner's voice and the learning experience is supported and listened to. Their ideas are valued and incorporated into the experience, and they are able to really make their own decisions about what will be learned, how it will be learned. They might be planning their own project or investigation, or thinking of a problem that they'd like to solve that matters to them and their community. In best case scenarios, we also see youth having opportunities to share what they've learned with an audience that it is relevant to. So an example of what this can look like, a program that I worked with a couple of years ago was for youth in middle school, and their program developed a project in partnership with several community members designed to really engage youth in their community and give them voice. So my role in the project was to, well, first let me say what their challenge was. They were interested in addressing issues around walkability in their neighborhood. It was a low-income school, and a lot of the students walked to school. Some of them had to cross a major highway to get to school, and they really didn't feel like it was particularly safe, the paths that they had to walk. So they wanted to address this in their community. My role in the project was to help them develop STEM skills in using data collecting tools. So we helped them learn how to use handheld GPS units and digital cameras so that they could collect information about the problem areas in their community and bring those back to the classroom and put them on a digital map where they could show where their concerns were in the community and put it all together into a presentation where they were able to share their findings with members of our community, their city council representative, members from the mayor's office who are actually in the process of planning a sidewalk renovation project in the neighborhood, and other community leaders from their neighborhood. So this is an example where the youth were able to decide what the question was they wanted to address, the problem. The staff worked with community partners to provide them the skills they needed. My role was really around using those data collection tools, but other partners came in to talk with them about developing their presentation, about the process of being involved in local governments and sharing your opinion with leaders in your community. So they had lots of partners working with them, but they had a lot of control and choice in this project. So what we're going to do next is share a video of what this looks like in a Boys and Girls Club where the youth are developing a project. And what I want you to think about as you are watching this video is what youth voice and choice looks like. So to introduce this, I have some questions I want to ask you. If you could respond in the chat boxes in the center of the page here, what do you think giving youth control looks like in your program? I gave you an example, but I'd like to hear your perspective on this. Couple more minutes to share your ideas. I really do want to encourage everyone to engage in the chat boxes and share some ideas. We hear from people who view the recordings of the webinars that the ideas that you share in the chat box are really helpful for them. They want to learn from you. So what do you think this looks like in your program or could look like in your program? We'd love to hear your opinion here. Again, do remember this webinar is being recorded, so if you want to come back and look at the discussion here, you are welcome to do that. There's lots of great ideas here about what giving youth control can look like, being flexible, offering choice, having some open and honest dialogue, getting feedback from students. Lots of ideas about how to give youth choice, how to involve them in deciding what it is you're going to learn. And then as you give youth more control, we see changes in your programs, more buy-in from the youth, more interest as they're picking things that they're particularly interested in, empowerment, self-esteem, ownership, confidence, all of these things develop in youth as they're giving opportunities to have choice and control in their learning. And they're learning how to learn, which is going to be really important skills for them later in life, particularly in college, but even if they're going directly into the workforce, being effective learners is really important. And then we talk a little bit about how the role of staff changed, not so much teacher or leader, more facilitator, needing to be more flexible, which can be challenging. It's hard to plan ahead sometimes when the youth are in control. And it's hard to figure out how to manage this so that things are structured and orderly. It's not chaotic, but you're not the one making all the decisions. So staff need to be more aware of what options there are. There's some new skills that they have to develop, and that's really what these training resources are about, is helping staff develop the skills that they need in order to be effective at facilitating learning when the youth are having some say in that. Now, the video we're going to show in just a little bit is about a makey-makey. And there is a video link in the downloads pod. If you're not familiar with what a makey-makey is, I encourage you to download that and maybe look at it right after the webinar. It's what is a makey-makey. It explains how it works and what it is. But in a brief explanation, a makey-makey is a small circuit board that you can use to interact with a computer in creative and innovative ways. So normally we interact with the computer by using our mouse or our keyboard, but the makey-makey allows us to interact with the computer in other ways. In the video, you're going to see youth using Play-Doh, aluminum foil, and even other people to connect with their computer through the makey-makey and control it. So again, if you want to learn more about how the makey-makey works, check out that video, What is a Makey-Makey? What we're going to focus on now is a video of staff using these at a Boys and Girls Club. As we watch the video, I want you to pay attention particularly to the role of the staff. What are the staff doing when the youth are in control? What strategies are they using? And how do the youth respond to the control that they have in the video? Let me pull up our video. If you are having trouble seeing with the video, it is also available in the web links pod. It is Click to Science Video, Learning Through Group Projects.
Okay, what I want you to do now is take about 5 minutes and we're going to talk about what we want our interactive room to look like. And I'm going to give each group a piece of paper and a pencil, and you're going to draw what kind of project you want. What I encourage you to do is look around the room and find things that could work in your makey-makey and try them out and see. Okay?
Youth are challenged to create a device that will complete a task. They then prepare to display their designs to others. Using a makey-makey device, youth work together on a project. Watch as frontline staff give youth a choice in what they're creating, provide support, but also let the youth do the work. Listen as staff get youth to explain their projects. Pay special attention to the body language of the facilitator, the space given to the youth, and the materials needed to successfully complete the challenge.
Let's brainstorm. So what kind of big thing do you want to make for other kids to come in and try out so they can see what you made with the makey-makey?
A giant boat.
A boat? Okay. Team, how do you feel about a giant boat?
That sounds good.
So we connected the circuit, these to the circuit board, which controls the arrows in space, so we can control the computer.
But you have to be holding the ground wire because that is what helps it power, because that's what runs the circuit. I'm going to see if this is going to work.
So what are you planning to do?
We're going to connect it to the Play-Doh
These are
and like make it like move, make the scratch move and like create sounds.
So why are you guys using Scratch? Why did you decide to use that program?
because it has computer programming and it helps you program the buttons to make sounds.
What are you going to do with those sounds?
We're
If
gonna
you press
make
like
a-
a button,
You
Right.
can
that.
press like an arrow button, you make sound.
It makes sense.
You made it too. You made it too flat. You made us too flat. Wait.
So how you fix that?
You get taller.
Okay. Is that one connected?
No.
All
That's why I
right.
can't jump.
So you gotta fix it.
So connected.
So, can you explain to us how does this work? So, how do you make the wires make sound?
Because it's metal and you gotta connect it to this makey thing. There's different arrows and like, okay, so white is over here and you would hold that and it would like, it shows the down arrow because white is going down.
Okay.
Jump, jump. Go me, dude, go me.
We are the human control and it's actually working.
So share your ideas in the main chat box here. What strategies did you see staff using to give youth control? And how did the youth respond to being in control? We want to hear your ideas about that. And I have another question for you, but I'll let you respond to those two first. Sorry, yes, I do have the microphone muted as you're typing in the chat box, but I'll give you just a little bit more time to do that. And the other question I have that I'd like you to think about is, what are the adults doing when the youth are in control? It looks like we generally saw it as a very positive experience. The youth were having fun, they were engaged, they were excited, they were doing a lot of problem solving on their own, and staff were supporting in that, asking them questions, facilitating them solving the problems, but really not offering solutions or leading them in a particular area. There was enough time, and I think that's important because you could see the youth were going through different ideas and iterations and trying different things. One group started off with Play-Doh, and they ended up with connecting to people, touching one another in order to control their Super Mario Brothers game. So they had enough time to change things and try out different ideas. As they were doing that, the adults were observing, asking a lot of open-ended questions that kept the excitement going and really, as we said, facilitated them in making decisions for themselves and building their problem-solving skills, which is really our goal with giving youth control, is to help them become self-directed learners and problem solvers. So that kind of wraps up our model of what a Click to Science professional development experience would look like. The conversation we had using one of the videos and talking about what the skill looks like in practice is the sort of professional development experience you might include in a staff meeting where you just have a few minutes to do professional development. So now I want you to think about this from your perspective as a leader in your program. What was this experience like? Did you learn something new? And is this something that your staff could learn from? So what do you think about the professional development experience in and of itself? So share some ideas again in the chat box about how this experience might fit in with your program, or if it wouldn't fit in your program. I'd love to hear that too. Let me see. Can you hear me now? I am so sorry. I do not know what happened, but my whole system locked up and I lost my connection with you. Sounds like I'm back now. Thank you for your patience. So, our goal with Click to Science is to provide you with resources that are free and easy for you to use to improve the quality of your local after-school program, with the intent of improving STEM quality overall across our system by making resources free and easy for you to use, so that even if you only have a few minutes to spend on professional development with your staff, you have resources you can use to develop their skills. We do want to remind you that supporting your staff in this way can be very impactful. As your staff develop their skills, they're going to be delivering a higher quality program to youth. That's going to make the youth in your program and their families more satisfied, increasing your impact in the community. It also helps your staff feel more valued, more important to their program, which improves their staff retention. They're more likely to stay with you. They can build stronger relationships with the youth in your program because they're staying longer. So it's a win-win for both your staff and the youth in your program when you can develop their skills using resources like Click to Science. I know we are getting toward the end of our time together, so I want to talk just a little bit about how you implement this in practice. As we said, we have a variety of resources available from Click to Science, and we use this blended model to provide a learning experience that engages your staff as a whole person and helps them develop their skills. This is a model in action that we're currently testing and measuring the impact of this sort of intervention with staff in after-school programs. So the idea here is that it's a process, and you can start at different points, but we have all of these resources designed to work together. The self-directed online lessons or the web lessons give staff basic knowledge of a skill. They can be used to introduce a skill or as a supplement later on in the program. And I'll share with you how to connect with those online lessons. That's where staff are going to receive continuing education units for completing that lesson. And again, it can help reinforce an idea or introduce an idea. Training are the hands-on interactive sessions in person, face-to-face, where staff have time to really practice and develop a skill. We use a lot of discussion, hands-on experiences, and videos in our trainings to really engage staff in rich discussions and social learning experiences where they get to learn from one another. We also want them to have opportunities to practice using the skill. We really feel like where development happens the most is when they're practicing that skill and working with youth and getting feedback from youth and seeing that it makes a difference in their practice. We have activities on the Click to Science website that your staff can use to practice a particular skill. We also have meeting resources. Those are our shorter professional development experiences that can be used to dig deeper into developing a skill or to reinforce the learning from your hands-on training. More practice, more time to apply the skill. And then we have resources for coaching, one-on-one support where your staff can set personal goals for improvement, work toward those goals, get feedback from you, observations to see how they're developing their skills as individuals. Continue to practice and reinforce that learning. So that's the model that we advocate for in terms of having the greatest impact. But there are lots of different ways you can use resources from Click to Science. Overall, what we want you to think about when you're working with your staff is how to connect the professional development experiences you're providing to that goal of building your overall program quality. As you do that, you're going to help staff build their skills and model a culture of reflection on practice where they're developing their skills and building their understanding as they're reflecting on what they're doing and focusing on improving themselves and the program overall. You're going to use a lot of discussions, small groups, interaction, where staff talk to each other as a way to make their understandings public, where they can learn from one another and develop ways of talking about their work and how they do it well. And this helps create a shared understanding and language across your program about what quality looks like and what your expectations are. And as you develop a series of staff development experiences, and they all focus on program and quality and improvement, you're going to be helping them see how what they do in the program contributes to the overall quality of the program, and how their interactions and their ongoing improvement of their interaction with you is contributing to overall program quality and improvement. So this is kind of where we hope you will get with using resources from Click to Science. And if you are interested in taking this to the next step for yourself in developing your skills and using Click to Science and providing staff development, we do have a training experience coming up in April where you can come to Omaha, Nebraska and learn about best practices in using Click to Science, how to evaluate the impact of what you're doing in staff development, and receive some a resource training packet on science's inquiry. So I encourage you, if you are interested in the opportunity to develop your own skills, to check out our Trainer Institute, which is going to be, let me look at our dates again, April 24th and 25th. The registration deadline is coming up at the end of this month, so I encourage you to check it out and get more information. I see people want a message. If you email us and I'll send you that information, we'll be happy to give you more information about the Institute. But here's a link to the website with the basic resources for you. And as I promised, we do have opportunities here where you can connect with us. Click2sciencepd.org is our website, and there's a contact us link on the website, or you can email us directly at unl.edu, or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. All of those things are great opportunities for you to connect with us. I really do want to thank you for attending the webinar today. We will have an evaluation come up as you leave the session today. Please take time to give us your feedback about how the webinar is working for you and what you'd like to see in future webinars. But I encourage you to connect with us. If you would like more information about partnering with Click to Science or how we might help you develop and plan your professional development, let us know. We'd be happy to provide some support and help you know what a partnership could look like. I also want to invite you to our next webinar, which will be April 12th, focusing on active STEM learning. And of course, if you are going to be at the National After School Convention later this month, please come by our booth and say hello to us, or drop in one of our sessions. We really would like to meet with you face to face. Are there any questions in our last few minutes? Would you like more ideas about how to use Click to Science resources or how to connect with us? I really do appreciate all your input today and your feedback. Since we do have just a couple of minutes left, what I'd like you to do is look one more time at the polls that we had up earlier and think about, are there things that initially we said were the responsibility of the adults in our program that could be given to youth to take some input or initiative on. For instance, the very first one, deciding the purpose of the activity. We all agree that that's typically something our staff do, but using resources like the class meeting training resource, you can learn how to make that something that the youth are doing in your program rather than something that the staff are doing. So that's the sort of shift that we'd like to see you be able to do with the staff in your program, to take things that tend to be responsibilities of the adults and let those become things the youth are able to do for themselves. You're developing their confidence and self-confidence as you do that, and also shifting that role of your staff so they can spend more time on facilitating learning and building relationships and not have to spend so much time managing and teaching. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do check out the recording of the webinar when we are all done.